Good afternoon and welcome to Salon Talks. I'm Alli Joseph and my guest today is writer and actress Andrea Savage. Known for her earlier work on the show's Episodes and Veep, Savage's new show, I'm Sorry, is fast-moving, funny, and sharp. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Or is it I'm Sorry? As it explores the life of a busy mom, wife, and comedy writer in a veiled persona. From her obsession with a fellow preschool mom who used to be a porn star, to questioning her theoretical market value as a prostitute, Savage's namesake character is joined by an amazing cast of guest stars and regulars that include Tom Everett Scott, Kathy Baker, Martin Mull, Adam Scott, June Diane Raphael, who we had visit us, Jason Mantzoukas, Gary Anthony Williams, and Allison Tolman, and others.
And others.
And Judy Greer. God, I could just go on and on.
Judy Greer.
Love Judy Greer.
And so many other great people.
So many other people.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So I was excited that you were coming because I figured it was probably the only time this season I'm going to get to say rectal prolapse as part of an interview.
I wouldn't put limits on your season. You don't know what's going to come up.
I just, I was excited because maybe that was the first time I was going to get to say it. And the last.
And the last rectal prolapse?
It's definitely the last. So, and a good segue to breaking the mold of the sitcom moms in I'm Sorry. And how do you think that you're doing that?
I think by just being more real to you've got kids. You don't, I'm guessing, relate to most of the moms on television before this. So basically, I was getting a lot of roles at a certain age and coming to me and was just kind of getting sick of that sort of two-dimensional, either the mom was like a super harried mom who was like, my husband, ugh, he's like my child. Or the mom is like, I hate my kids. I don't care. Roll over into a ditch, Right. So I was like, I'm not like that. And my friends aren't like that. And I wanted to do something where I could tell some funny stories that I had in my life and use real characters from my life and kind of make something more nuanced and funny and different.
All right. As it's going well.
I think it's going
well. You get a season 2.
I got a season 2.
It's going well, and we'll talk about that in a second. So in the first season of I'm Sorry, Andrea's new show, we meet Andrea, her husband Mike, and daughter Amelia, and we get a kind of a sense of your personality, her personality, and then really yours, and her propensity for speaking her mind, and out of turn sometimes with some uncomfortably funny results. So tell us what we can expect from season 2.
So season 2, we did not reinvent the wheel, so it's same characters, that kind of thing. But our daughter is now going to kindergarten, so we are faced with no longer. I feel like parenting changes a little bit when kids start going into kindergarten because you're not just like keeping them alive, like sustenance and healthcare. Now the rest of the world's kind of getting at them, and they're learning stuff and asking a lot more questions. So it's navigating kind of through that world is sort of the theme in terms of the parenting theme. And then we've got, great episodes. June Diane Raphael is great on the show and plays a friend that you've had like since you were in your 20s that you like just, in this case, we waitress together. And, you think you have all this in common, but you're still friends with them that many years later, but you have nothing in common and then you have to break up. So that kind of like where you're like, I give them good advice all the time. They don't listen. Their lives are kind of a wreck. They're draining, and I just need to I don't have time for this.
Yeah, and that's good timing. It's a new year.
Yeah.
It's time to do the dump.
Exactly. So, there's things about divorce, there's relationship stuff, my mom, my dad, it's all based in reality, and it's all based on real stories, either my stories or our writers. Real stories, yeah.
Well, and it is more relatable. It's I'm Sorry if you haven't seen it. There was first season, as I mentioned, is dirty and it's kind of edgy and it's relatable to many moms. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from fans?
It's been pretty much like when you think of your like wildest dreams of how you hope people will respond to what's in your head and what you create. It's been great. I get so many like, oh my God, this is the first time I see a relationship on screen that I relate to, the husband and the wife. You're aspirational. You're the parents I want to be. You're the mom I want to be. You're my spirit animal. It's the only show that my husband and wife watch together, that I watch with my wife. It's the only show that I watch with my husband. So I feel like it's touching a nerve of people who feel like they've been underrepresented on television. And my comedy, where it's dirty and a little edgy. And I like that you mentioned rectal prolapse, but in no context.
I like that.
I could be suffering from a rectal prolapse And I just was like, listen, please, Allie, don't mention I have a rectal prolapse. No, I don't have a rectal prolapse. It was part of a storyline on a show.
Well, let's tell them what it is.
Well, basically...
that's not a spoiler, right?
No, it's the pilot of the first season.
Yes.
Basically, my daughter goes to preschool, and I find out that one of the moms in the class, used to be a very prolific anal porn star. And she's changed her name, and she now is in real estate. And I don't tell anybody, but I become obsessed with her butthole and the state of it, and is it okay, and should she be wearing white pants, and is just what is it? And again, no judgment on, but just like, how does that work? Like,
it's hard to be a curious person, isn't it?
It is hard to be a curious person.
I know.
And then we show up, and she has a handicap placard on her car and is parked very close to this party. And
is she wearing white pants?
She's wearing white pants. And I am like, I think she needs it because her butthole may have fallen out. Which is a real thing that happens and has happened.
Rectal prolapse.
And it's called rectal prolapse. And so I am like, she's probably suffering from her rectal prolapse. Just everyone be cool. Let her have her handicap placard.
But you still can't tell everyone.
I do not tell everyone. No,
That's
it
very
gets
good of
outed
you.
by. In real life, I knew for a year and a half, and I didn't tell anybody. So.
All right. Well, that's a good. We have to move on. We should move on. What kind of weird mom experiences, going from that, of yours haven't we yet maybe seen on screen? We were talking before we went live about the naked lady spawn, maybe the awkwardness of like taking, my daughter with her friends.
Well, you were talking about
party.
A birthday party for an 11-year-old going to a nude lady spa.
I don't know.
But it's not just a nude lady spa. It's mixed.
No, but not together. No, it's not like a hippie party. It's mixed separate sides.
I don't know what kind of things you're into. We've just met. I don't know.
I have a handicap plaque. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean, there's a lot of stories here. I don't want to spoil any of them for this season. But, it's starting to ask questions about body stuff and learning to read. I found that learning to read, everyone's like, oh my God, they're going to learn to read. Your whole life turns to shit when your kid learns to read.
Yeah.
It gets real rough. You have to hide everything. They can read suddenly you're like, the world is a dangerous place that you haven't been aware of.
Mommy, what's Xanax?
Well, yeah.
That's the best of it. Right. Mommy, why do you have to take one every day? Yes. So what's it like playing sort of a close version of yourself on screen, and how do you know when to dial up a real situation and kind of, to make it funnier for the show maybe?
Well, all the situations are dialed up, and not all of them are real beginning to end. I mean, they're fully scripted shows, and so certain stories have dialogue taken from my life, but certain stories have a kernel of something from my life. And then, Joey Slayman, who's my co-showrunner, and I, and we have 3 writers this season, and we had 3 writers last season. We then shape it and turn it into, a television show. So it's always dialed up. I know when to stop talking in real life. I don't get myself into a lot of situations, but I take real things and push them out to make them a story,
I see some similarities between I'm Sorry and the Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, Master of None. I would say you're the worst.
I'm the worst?
Not you're the worst. I'm the worst. Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah.
Which are all, but from the male point of view, actually. So what shows inspired you while you were creating this one?
Those.
I
mean, there really wasn't. Pam Adlon has her show now, which I actually haven't watched, and I'm a huge fan of Pam's, but I didn't want to have our shows cross over in any way. But her show wasn't on when I was developing it. But other than that, there really hasn't been a super female point of view, one of these first-person shows that's kind of based on who you are in real life, and you're playing sort of a fictionalized version of yourself, of a woman. So I kind of wasn't basing it on anything but the male versions.
Now let's talk a little bit about improv. We've been doing a little here. There's like a little riffing.
Life is improv. When people are scared of improv, I just be like, literally the conversation we're having right now is improv.
I mean, this is not a script.
No.
I loosely go off of it. But it was a really big part of your formative years in the business.
Yeah.
And so I have to ask, what are your top takeaways from improv that you've used most in your life as a mom and also in your professional life?
Mom, for sure, when you get questions thrown at you, like, out of nowhere. I mean, my daughter is 9, and I feel like Santa really, she knows it's not real, but is just holding on. But you know, those questions, the stuff like that, where you have to come up with stuff on the fly. Also, I like to make my daughter laugh, and I feel like teachable moments and that kind of stuff are taken more easily when you sort of make it fun and you kind of try to show the funny side of it. But for career-wise, I would say improv's gotten me, especially early on, almost every single job I've ever gotten. Even if it's a fully scripted show, improv got me the job. You add a little something in the audition, in character, don't try to make it crazy, but it just gives it a little bit of you thrown in there.
And that's a great transition to the role that you played on Veep, right? Laura
Montes.
Laura Montes. That's with a
Montes.
Catalan accent. Right. So her husband was.
Her husband is Hispanic, and we live in New Mexico.
Right. So that is how your character
is Spanish.
Is Spanish.
But I've taken his
Spanish
heritage.
Right. So, but on Veep, you become one of 2 women presidents, which is actually a lovely in a fictional world.
It was
maybe someday here.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a story about how you get that role?
I auditioned for it, and I went in and I read, and they had some fake sides because it was just for a senator. I didn't really know what the role was. And Julia was there, and Dave Mandel, and a couple other people. And I did it, and then I improvised with Julia, and we just did some scenes off script, and then they had me sort of improvise a speech, and I didn't know why. And they were like just kind of a straight political speech. And then I sort of did the Laura Montes and did a big Spanish thing and just sort of insinuated that I'd been married into it versus actually being Hispanic. And it was scripted, and then I partially improvised it, and then they took some of the stuff I improvised and kind of melded it into the show. And she's an incredible inspiration to me, and I think to every female comic that I know.
Absolutely, and she's had a rough couple of years, as I think is widely known. We're speaking of Julia LouisDreyfus, the star of Veep, of course, and her battles with breast cancer. And I believe that they're coming up in the final season.
They just wrapped.
And will we see you?
I don't know. I can't say anything.
All
I can't
right.
say yes, I can't say no.
All right, it's a secret.
But one thing I will say about her is not only is she an amazing comedic actress, but she's a producer on that show. And I started working on Veep right before I started really shooting season 1 of my show. And I watched how incredibly involved she was creatively and how she was on set and really drew a lot of inspiration from her of how I wanted to be on my set. She's pretty incredible, even off camera, and what she does there, which I don't think a lot of people know.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I would imagine as much. So given the fictional world of Veep, what are your thoughts on this new super diverse most diverse house class of women ever?
I could not be more excited, and I couldn't be more excited because I think it wouldn't have happened without the debacle that we're in. So it's nice to finally see like some lemonade coming out. Little lemonade. And it's very satisfying that all of this might actually push us in a direction that we weren't maybe going to get pushed in.
Yeah, there's been some interesting headlines coming out of there.
Yeah.
And then like cursing and all kinds of crazy stuff.
I can't believe people would fucking curse.
Oh gosh!
What
and in
dicks.
the hallowed halls of the
hallowed halls
of Representatives.
Fucking House of goddamn fucking Representatives.
All right, I didn't say that.
I did ask if I was allowed to swear before.
She did. And yes, and it is yes. This, by the way, is Andrea Savage. If you don't know, she is the creator and star of I'm Sorry on truTV, which is going into its second season. Does it start Wednesday?
Starts Wednesday, January 9th, and it also season 1 you can see on Netflix.
What day is it? Sorry, we've just come off the holiday break. We're moms.
Today's the 7th.
Okay, it's the 7th. All right. So 2 days.
In 2 days.
There we go.
Yeah. And you can see season 1 on Netflix too, even though I'm not really supposed to say that.
Yeah, well, I actually found that, and so a lot of people in the comments and the lovers of your first season have said I binge watched it and it's so funny. So you're a multi-hyphenate. I like that word. It makes me feel strong. I like to be a multi-hyphenate too. But writer, performer, and producer. And so as a creator and a writer in front of the camera, have you seen an increase, especially since Me Too and Time's Up, of women directors and senior writers?
I've really been in a bubble. I've been 2.5 years on my own show with barely coming out for air, so I can't really speak to probably what the reality is. I feel like I have a lot of very funny women that I know in my life who are doing pretty great stuff, so I feel like there's been a lot more opportunity for them. I know on my show, we have a lot of women who are the department heads, who are the UPMs, who are the line producers, who are you know what I mean? So I know we have female directors, I direct. So I feel like there's definitely a push. People want to, and I feel like, it's moving in the right direction. I don't think I can speak to it that well because I haven't been on anyone else's shows recently.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did the Golden Globes last night. It was kind of a snooze fest, and
I was flying,
Andy,
so I didn't miss it. I missed it.
So, well, it's better to be in the dark than. But Regina said at the end, which was a lovely speech. They played the music. They wanted to go, walk to the hook, and But she went on to say that she is planning to employ a minimum of 50% of women on any project she works on going forward, and she got a standing ovation for that, as she should.
I will say, and I don't put a number on it, but Joey, who's my co-showrunner, is a woman, Joey Slayman. And it's not necessarily we go out intentionally, but I take very seriously that I right now, for a very short amount of time, have a position to make decisions and actually affect change in terms of women in this industry. And we hire a lot of women, but not only that, I really work to make our set family friendly and female friendly in terms of our writing hours start after drop off, and we stop usually around 5 o'clock. I work after everyone leaves and all that, and then because I like to hire people with families, we shoot basically from 7 to 7, and then my edit hours are after drop off, and then we try to get out of there 6. I mean, again, I work past that and all that. But I don't think shows have to be run in the way that they've been run before. And they can be run more efficiently, and they can be run in a way that you can be a woman and have children and also do this job. Because in the past, it has been almost impossible for a woman to do both because of just the nature of how it is. You're working till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and you want to see your children. You've made a commitment to have children, and it's very difficult to do both. But I'm trying to use the position that I'm in right now to show that you can make it work.
And and that's amazing, and I think, the whole thesis of lean in is very difficult to accomplish, in the way it was written. You kind of have to make some choices, but it's good to have a supportive work environment where, that's more possible.
And the paradigm can change. That's what I think it's been this way for so long, but it doesn't have to be this way.
Absolutely.
But it takes people, and it takes, I think, women being in positions of power to go, hey, I'm going to run it this way, and hey, actually it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like
Maybe
that.
you should try it.
Maybe, everybody try that.
Try that.
So before we wrap up,
Yep.
what's your, other than the schedules that you just spoke of, but your personal approach to helping support maybe the next generation of women creator, writer talent?
I like to keep them down. That's what I do.
No soup for you.
Yeah. I basically am like, ask for advice. I just tell them don't really try very hard. It'll just come to you. It's real easy. No,
really?
I love when women write to me or whatever, and young women especially, and say what are your thoughts? And it really is one, and I always say this, and it may be a jerk, you have to be undeniably good. Even if you're kidding yourself, you have to be so good that out of a room of 200 people, someone's going to remember you. You have to be, there's just the competition is too big. So you need to know that you're good, and you need to believe it. You cannot have questions about that. And if you're trying to get into comedy, you need to write from whatever age you are, starting then. And by the time you turn 18, you have the ability to have an hour's worth of comedy that has been edited, shot, ready to go, and you could show it to an agent tomorrow, and you could upload it, and you could create your own web show, and you could create your own stuff. If you are not creating stuff and creating your own content early on, you will not be able to compete with the people who are. And it's something that wasn't around when I was coming through comedy, but it's around now, and it's what people are doing. So you have to create, and you have to force yourself, and now there's no excuse not to have material ready to go. as soon as you're ready to go into the workplace.
All right, you hear that, young women?
So
be ready.
just be
Always
prolific.
prepare.
Be prolific and don't stop.
That's good. I like it. All right. Andrea Savage in the second season of I'm Sorry on truTV, premiering this Wednesday, January the 9th. See, I know what day it is.
Look at you.
This doesn't take much.
Nobody would ever know.
The bar is so low. All right. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining us. This is a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing the episodes I haven't seen.
I love it.
All right.
I got to go take care of that
The situation. All right. Take care, everybody.